Hello and welcome to Farthest Frontier. Well, starting to make progress now. We've got a lot more houses, so I've got enough housing capacity to meet the needs to upgrade our town centre, because we need to be able to get 30 people into our town, so there's enough room for people to live in. What's missing at the moment though is an actual market. I mean, we still need to attract people to the area, but the thing is, I do need this market, because that's quite useful almost. I mean, these actual marketers, they actually do go out, they generate money, but they also go out and gather like food and luxuries for the actual people, so it makes it easier for the actual villagers themselves. Instead of them going out and getting things, the market can do that for them. So because I've built a saw pit down here, they can make planks. So I'll have a look, because that should have unlocked. Yeah, it's unlocked the option here for the actual market. So one of the interesting things about this is there's certain things that make it more desirable to live in certain houses. You can see as I move this market closer to these houses, they start to turn green, which makes them, you know, more liked when it comes to living in them. So I'm actually going to put that one. It only makes no difference, because at some point I'm going to probably end up with multiple markets, but since this seems to touch all but one, it's not going to make much difference which one I pick. I'll put it on that side just for sake of giggles, but I'll just line it up with the town a bit. Put that there, so off they go. So they need 30 planks, and there's plenty of planks to do that. There's plenty of stone, so may as well get them to shift their focus. Now, the only thing is, it's the builders that are going to be doing this anyway. We've got 2 builders versus 10 labourers. So I think I'll crank that up. I want more builders. Just double check. There's nobody missing from the job yet. That seems fine. So you can have up to potentially 5 people working on that. They've allocated 3, so off the go, and they're going to build that. May as well crank the speed up a bit. We're just going to have to get more of the planks. Presumably we'll go straight to the actual sawmill to get them. It's fine, so they'll build that, and then what we'll get is people will, I think, just start off with just the one person to begin with. They'll actually take on a role in this job. I'll slow that down. So we've got one person who's allocated to this. When you upgrade it, you can get more, but they'll actually go out and they'll start gathering things. They'll stock the market, so it means that people that are living there will then actually come to this market to get the things. So rather than coming all the way down here, for instance, to get food, or all the way over to the hunter there, or one of the foragers up there, they'll just go straight to the market. So that make their lives easy. So I think you can see they're going off there with a little wheelbarrow to go and gather things. Do I select that person? I can. So she's going off and she's picked up some firewood for people. So she's grabbed the firewood and she's going to bring it back and stock the market with firewood. So that makes people's lives easier. I mean, there's a lot of things they can stock. I mean, at the moment I've got, it's interesting that it's already got berries and it's already got smoked meat in it. And now it's got some firewood. And then when people go to the markets, you must pay to get that, so you then start generating some actual gold from the field. It's saying you get a certain amount of gold, and then you can start using that to do other things, because some things you've got to pay for them. But key thing is where we're at in terms of this now. So we need 40 planks. I need to wait for those to get produced, and we need 30 people. Okay, so let's have a look and see what else we can do. So we've done the storage. We have one of each type of place when it comes to food. We don't have any farms built yet. So resources, now this would be useful, because we've opened up more resources. We can get a tannery where they'll start converting the actual pelts that the hunters been getting from the deer at this stage into coats, and that'll be better for the winter. We've then got a cobbler that gives them better shoes, so they can actually go faster and less likely to get injured. Fletcher is useful because then they can start making bows and the arrows. We've got a basket shop now. We don't actually have access to willow, but I've noticed there's some over there. And what they'll do is they'll create baskets. The labourers, if they've got a basket, can actually carry more things. That's useful. And then we've got a compost yard. Now these houses, you don't get that much, but they actually build up waste. If the waste doesn't get removed, the problem you've got is that you know, breeds disease basically. So there's quite a lot of things we still need to be adding in. So I'm just having a look and trying to weigh up what I should be doing. And so I'm tempted to get that compost yard going because it's one of these places that it's not a desirable place to live nearby for obvious reasons. So they're basically going to take the waste from the houses and they'll actually turn that into compost, which gives you fertilizer for the fields, which is useful. So tricky part is always deciding where to put it, because I want it near the houses. I just don't want it too near. I don't think there's any deer over here. I'm going to bother. Right, so that area there is a bit too steep, so I'm going to see if I can get them to flatten that area. There's only so much of an area you can cover, and the more area you ask for, the more resources and the longer it's going to take. So we'll get them to build that. But down here, I want to get this tannery going, because all it needs is pellet and water. Let's squeeze that into there. Since we've got so many buildings around and they want water, I think I'm just going to plunk a water well down here. So that gets the tannery. I want the cobbler's shop as well, so I'll flip that around so it's facing the road. I mean, all these, this is just kind of like getting started. Everything is going to get moved around as everything expands, because I've got my long-term goal is I want a lot of houses around this area, because I know at some point I need to get all the way up to like 250 people, and you can only have 4 people in a house, so that's a lot of houses. It's best to try to keep everybody focused around one area. So at some point I'll end up having to build a separate area, like an industrial area, to keep all of this sort of stuff away from the villages themselves. But at this stage it's early just early in the game, so I don't mind them being right on the edge, because I've only got houses on that side at the moment. But Fletcher, let's squeeze them in there. Just out of curiosity. Trying to get the arrow, yeah, that'll do. Put them there. And the game doesn't seem to complain. I think I'll leave the basket shop for now because I don't have access to the world, but the game doesn't seem to complain if you've got like a lot of work going on. I think people just get round to doing things as and when they get round to doing it. I'm not quite sure what the priority is. I haven't seen any settings to sort of pick out certain things have more priority than others. Although I think one thing that does seem to have high priority is if somebody wants food for their house, if the house doesn't have enough food. Because I've had issues where, like, raiders, for example, start attacking the place, and the people who are supposed to be manning the actual lookout towers, for example, they're busy, like, you know, putting food into the house. In the meantime, you know, the buildings and whatever are getting torn down, and they're like, look, I know I've got to get my food here. So whatever, you know. So that's not taking too long, right? Builders will be building, and the labourers will be labouring. So that's that bit done, almost. Ooh, 2 new villages, what, 25, right. See, we got our compost here. See, it's not flat enough. It's a pain, that. Yeah, I really don't like this flattening tool. It's too steep. It doesn't literally give you an exactly flat area. I think it just kind of improves the slope a bit, which for bigger buildings is a real pain because it needs a lot of work. I'm still puzzling over why it keeps giving me this warning to say construct more stockyards to provide additional storage, but it's like, there it is now. Here's my stockyard. This place stores a lot of stuff. This place stores, unless, I mean, this one, storage cart's right on the edge in terms of capacity. There's only so much you can store, but so there's our storehouse. So we've got 2 people went into the tannery job, so they'll start making clothes, which is good. That'll be better, especially as we get into winter, because these clothes are good for the winter time. It allows people to stay out longer instead of having to keep running back to their house. They can stay out longer, do jobs, and it also gives them better protection against the wildlife. And the Fletcher will be able to start building the bows and the arrows that the hunter over here needs. Right, so that's the Fletcher done, so that's got 1 person, so we're on 25 out of 32, so we've got 7. 4 months of food. So who's that? Interesting, she's gone all the way around there to do our fishing. So she's fishing on these little points there. Okay, fair enough. Yep, little icon's come back again. Right, so let's see. So they're busy chopping things down still, because that's how I'm getting the logs at the minute. I'm having to issue orders to tell them to. I have to issue orders to tell them to chop things down. Oh, so the fishing person's in trouble. So I wonder if there's a wolf den nearby. So she's gonna just try and run home as best she can. I'm going to get them to attack the wolf. Oh no! Oh, Pooh-Bah. Right, since somebody died, I'm going to have to check the professions and see if there's a gap. Yep, so that was one of the tanners. So it doesn't automatically populate that job for some strange reason. I've got to do it myself. Right, now we're down to 24 people. Well, on the plus side, at least she's going to end up in a graveyard now that we've got one, so at least she'll get a decent burial. Right, so the market. The person who's doing the market at the moment, she's been off and she's been getting smoked fish, firewood, plus some herbs. So the herbs do help a bit for illnesses, but we really need a doctor. And I need 30 people. So if I have a look at the town centre, once we get to about 40 planks, we'll be fine, but we need another 6 people. Oh, that big rock's gone now, that's good. So I want to give myself a bit of wiggle room. Yeah, turn that round. So I'll get them to build another house over there. It's the food I need to be thinking about next. So, shoes. They're made out of pelts. The clothes are made out of pelts. Just have a look in the inventory. We've got reasonable amount of pelt. I hate it when those wolves are always howling during the winter. Sounds like they're over here somewhere. Right, so there's some... Well, they're all herbs mostly over there. We've already got those 2 areas covered for deer. I'm going to send somebody out. Let's see. Oh, there's a wolf over there. Well, that's not good. Let's see what's over here then. Because at the start of the game you see everything, but I seriously I can't remember what I saw. So I've got a few people to go out and have a look, see what they can find. If they find any wolves, then hopefully they can run back quickly. Oh, where was that one? Jeez Louise. Where's that wolf? There. Go and get the wolf. Ah, that's better. As long as I can get enough people to it in time, it seems to be okay. The trouble is they can get injured, they can get festering wounds and all sorts. Right, well, another thing I can be looking into is farms. So I've got a food. Now these, as soon as you select the field, it automatically turns on, toggles on the fertility overlay. So you can see the greener the area is, the better. So over here it's 65%. Now you need about, trying to remember, you need a certain amount of like room to be able to make a field. There is a minimum, there is a maximum, but you also need to keep predators out, wildlife out, otherwise they'll eat crops. So I think what I'll do is, I mean I can't move a field, I can expand them a little bit, but I can't move them. I think what I'll do, because it's in there, it's under the minimum size, but if I go back for a 5x5, then that's fine, it's happy for me to make a 5x5 there. Gets me another 5x5 there. And the only thing I'm bearing in mind is that I need fences. That's the only trouble. I think I'll do for now. I'll probably make another one over there. But I need to keep things out. So if I go to walls and roads, I can get them to make a fence around here. Hopefully I'm not taking that hawthorn out. I think I am. So I'm struck by a wall. Oh, it's the yeah, it's the wall I've just made. Right, so I get that. Click that one there. Drag it around there. There. And I'll put a fence. Gate over there, so that way people can get in and out once they're built, and then we'll start to be able to grow crops. I think I'll do another set over here, so I think I'll get them to start fence first, so just so I know where I can stay away from the greens there. Right, so we do food production, so put one over there, so that's 5x6, 5x5, 5x5, right, take that out. There's no point having that one, or that one. And put a little gateway in. Nope, didn't want that. So put a little gateway in there so I can get in and out. And build that rest of the fence around there. So off they go, they'll go off and clear any trees, any rocks, boulders that need to go. But the thing is, the field will still have things like little rocks, pebbles, that sort of stuff. We're going to have weeds in there as well, so we're going to need to clear those out. But running at maximum speed now. The thing is, you can see the amount of like time it needs just to actually create the field itself. And that's a heck of a long time. And there's 4 of them. So yeah, it's going to take a while. But once I get these up and running, we'll be able to start growing our own crops. And there's all sorts of different crops you can pick. The only trouble is there's when it gets to the grains, although we would be able to potentially grow grains, we can't do anything with them, so it's kind of pointless. So just double check I haven't really messed up oranges. So we're still on about 3 for greens and 3 for berries, because there's lots of those hawthorn berries. Oh, it's actually summer. Okay. So how do they compare to the other ones then? These are blueberry ones. Oh, we'll see. So that's currently on about 960. I'm still puzzled as to why it's giving me this warning, because we've now got all of the storage features. I mean, I've got a root cellar, and that's not full. I've got a stockyard, and that's not full. And I've got a storehouse, and that's not full. So we should have all things covered. So I'll go to the building menu for storage. They're the only types of storage I've got. We're not into tier 2 or anything. Unless it's complaining about that one, because that one's at almost full capacity. So I tell them to stop storing the food. It's a real pity that they don't give you the option to deselect multiple things. I mean, if I select that out of curiosity, yeah, I can't drag. It doesn't give me an option to drag. That's a pity. I've got to manually go through every single item, which is nuts. I'm not quite sure what the devs are thinking about here. Because there's going to be certain like storage areas that we want to keep certain types of things in. I mean, the way I see this one is it's a portable one, so it's great for the basic materials, like the raw materials, to transport them around. So I'd want to take this to an area where we're chopping the trees down, an area where we're, you know, chopping the rocks down, and then I can collect them and bring them back, for example. But no, you've got to go through each one individually to deselect it. And then once you deselect it, all it means is that item won't actually get stored there anymore. It doesn't automatically like result in items being removed. People still go, as far as I'm aware, people still go to it and take items out of it. But it doesn't automatically start people coming in and then start taking those items out again. Which is a bit odd. Would have been extremely useful, because then it would have stopped them, you know, it would have cleared the plates out a lot quicker. So we're almost done. Right, so let's pause it there. So start off with a field which has got no crops, and it's got a like 3-year cycle that you can go through. And then what you can do is you can add different crops basically, and you've got the seasons. You've got your spring, you've got your summer, your autumn, and then your winter. But you've got 3 years to plan things, to get things done. You've also got your fertility for that soil, and that's actually going to go up or down depending on what you plant. You've got to do crop rotation. Here we've got up to 1 worker. That's it. The bigger the field, the more people you can put in it. But yeah, we've got our fertility levels, our weed levels, our rockiness, and these all impact the actual the yield of the crop that you're going to get. So there's a lot of thought that goes into this, I must admit. A lot more than most other games. I mean, you've got an option to like clear a crop once you've picked it, and you've got an option to expand the actual field if you want, but I'll probably end up building bigger fields somewhere else at some point anyway. But I've got to get started somewhere. So for year 1, you can see we're almost halfway through the season anyway, so can't really do much. But either way, we've got a choice of various crops now. Things like the wheats. So we've got wheat, we've got buckwheat, and we've got rye. These grains that we've got. There's not a great deal I can do with these, simply because of the fact that we don't have the means to convert them into something. I can't even sell them to anybody at this stage. So it's really, we're talking about things like that. The peas and the beans are quite good because I'm just hovering over them. They'll tell you things about like the crop yields that you get and a tolerance to frost. So if something is really tolerant to frost, it makes sense to start growing that at the start of the year or at the end of the year. You've got heat tolerance, so if it's really got good tolerance for heat, it's best to put that during the middle of the year. Weed suppression is how it deals with the weeds. Growth time is about how long it's going to take to grow. Impact to fertility. So you can see these peas, for example, they actually add 2 to the fertility of the soil. Whereas if I pick something like these turnips, for example, they actually subtract 2 from the fertility of the soil. And you don't want to get to a situation where you literally run out of fertility in the soil, because it just means you can't grow anything. And as the fertility goes down, the yield goes down as well. But that's where, in some respects, I still haven't built that yet, but the actual compost yard will come in handy, because it'll be able to produce fertilizer. But you can also try to keep on top of it a bit, because you've got clover, for example, which basically you don't harvest anything from it, but it puts 4 back into the actual soil for fertility. So it's a bit of a playing game that you do. But at this sort of stage, I mean, I want to get rid of the weeds and I want to get rid of the rocks, for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on clearing out that, if I can. We'll see where we get to after this, because we're pretty far into the season anyway. So they're going to start that one. Then I think what I'll do, actually, I haven't said that. Let's take that one out, and I'm going to add in some beans. I'm going to get no, because the carrots are tolerant to frost, but not necessarily to heat. The beans that I picked, they're good for the heat. If I try to add other things, for example, because I'm at my limit, you see, because each one takes a certain amount of time to grow. Once you get to winter, you just can't do anything. So what I normally do, if I can, let's try and take, yeah, that's better, because the turnips have got more tolerance towards the cold. The trouble is, you can get these really flash periods where right at the start of spring it might get really, really cold all of a sudden. So you've got to be very careful as to what you pick. So that's why I've gone with the carrots at the start, because they're very tolerant to frost. And the turnips at the end, because they're also tolerant to frost. And we're getting them done. Push them out a bit further towards the end. And it might help. The beans that I'm putting in are tolerant to the heat, not so much to the frost. I'm going to take these out as we rotate through the years, though. But it's just something to start with anyway. I mean, but we definitely need these fields, because once the crops start growing, the problem we'll run into is as well as the disease, you've got animals going to try to eat it as well. So you've got to be a bit careful. But again, there's a lot of micromanagement goes into this. There's all sorts of things need like a lot of detail, a lot of attention paying. I don't want that. I don't want that. Stop putting that. I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Right. So what's this dude up to? So he's got nothing to do. In which case, I may as well get them chopping the trees down. I'll clear some trees out over there. That'll keep them occupied. Now, where was I? I was supposed to be putting that. Where's that? That goes into resources, doesn't it? There it is. It's the compost yard. The slope is too steep. There. So I'll put that there. We're not impacting desirability. It's not too far to get to the houses. And that's sort of like the balancing act. But basically what they'll do is they'll start taking the waste that we've got here out of the houses, making these better places to live in. We'll turn it into compost, we'll get fertilizer, and then what we'll be able to do is start putting that fertilizer on the actual fields. So if I press the F, you can see, I mean, they're already pretty fertile areas around here anyway. but that'll go down over time because of the crops that we're putting in. I'm just not tolerant. And you don't necessarily have to start in an area that's, you know, got a lot of fertility, because you can build the fertility levels up. That clover's really good for that. I haven't put it in yet, but the clover's good for doing that sort of thing. But also so is the fertilizer itself. So we're getting towards the autumn. So we need 15 planks to do that. We're up to, ooh, so close. I only need 2 more people. So they're complaining of a lack of water. So it's interesting. So they don't collect any water. Oh wow, look at that. We've got 121 gold because we put that market in. But the trouble is the food, they're collecting a lot of food and it's just rotting. Until we get into higher tiers where we can start putting barrels in, for example. We're just going to see produce getting wasted. Anyway, there we go. There's our knacker's yard, or compost yard as they like to call it. So it's got three piles. So basically they'll just go around and they'll just keep filling each of those piles in. Once that pile gets full, it starts to compost, and then at some point it'll be ready to put on the field as a fertilizer. So all this waste will slowly start getting removed. So they just keep running around with a little wheelbarrow taking the waste out of the houses. That's quite cool. So we're up to 18% on desirability for those houses. It's still adamant that I've got a storage problem, I notice. So this is at 536. Okay. So they produce quite a bit of meat. They've produced quite a bit of fish as well. We're up to about 5 months. So far we haven't lost. It's saying there's zero months lost due to spoilage. Interesting. So there's a very small amount that's been lost. So I assume that's because this dude here is very, very busy. Yes, they're producing smoked meat and smoked fish, so that's going to last long. They produced about 14 cores. They produced 1 pair of shoes. I don't think we're getting enough of the pelts, so I need to find somewhere else for another hunter. That's not too bad. So, oh, there we go. We've got 30. And there you go. We've now got a little icon above it to say we can upgrade the actual town centre. So I'm gonna do that as soon as I can before somebody starts stealing things like the planks. If I can get them to upgrade that opens up a lot better things to be able to build at tier 2. Particularly, it allows us to build a healer's house, because then they'll be able to heal. And they can use those herbs, for example. They can use those to be able to then heal the people that we've got. So if somebody, you know, gets an illness or attacked by a bear or whatever, they've got a much better chance of surviving if we've got a healer's house. Then we've got a trading post as well, which is really good, because that's going to allow us to then actually start trading. We'll get traders coming in. They'll then allow us to sell things to them. We'll be able to buy things from them, which is great for, you know, when you've got shortages, but there's certain things we actually need, what we can't actually make, which is a bit frustrating, and you're actually relying on an actual trader. You have to buy things like the heavy tools, for example. You have to buy them from a trader just to get started, which is a bit weird. We've got a school which allows us to then start educating people, make them more productive. We'll also have a rat catcher, because at some point they start to get rats causing problems around the storage facilities. So that gets a bit frustrating. So there's all sorts of things that'll start to open up. So there you go. We've now got a tier 2. Now to get to the next tier, though, the problem is these houses need to reach. Let's see. So you need to be able to. You need 25 homesteads. So if I go into these houses here, it says they need to have a desirability of 30% to be upgraded, which means you've got to start improving this whole area. The market's improved things a bit, but there's other things we need to start adding in. That's not too bad of a start, I must admit. At least we're making some good progress now. So now that we've got that, I want to start improving the area around here to make it a better place, adding a healer and all that sort of stuff. Resource-wise is where it gets interesting, because this is where we get access to things like an apiary, for example. You can start to get bees and all sorts for your honey and wax to make candles, to make beers. We can get a potter to make pottery. Then you can that improves the luxury for these people. We've got a weaver, so when you start growing the flax, you can get you can actually get a lot of clothes out of these, which is good. It's an alternative to the shortage we're experiencing, for example, with the hides that we're getting, the pelts. So then there's the candles. We'll be able to sell those once we start getting a trader, or give them to these people to improve their lives, because they've got certain requirements for their luxury levels. I don't see them yet because we're not up at that level, but soap shop, that's good for the keeping off the diseases. If you need coal, if you can't find any coal, you can get a charcoal kiln, do that. You can also start making armor, which is good for the for your guards and what have you. But yeah, still at this point where if you want to actually build like a barracks, for example, it's going to cost you. We're producing about 4 gold a month, it seems, but it costs about 5 there, it seems, for a lookout tower, and 8 for a barracks. So that's where the trader comes in handy, because you've got to be able to sell things off. It's useful to make the luxury goods to sell those off, buy some resources and sell expensive stuff off if you can. But then now that we're into tier 2, we can also start growing our grains, for example, wheat, and start making those. But the trouble is, these sort of buildings, they need like a windmill. It's showing you like a little cog, and to get one of those you have to actually buy it off the trader, which is a bit annoying. You can't make any until you get to level 3, oddly enough, where the founder, the blacksmith, can actually make them. So until you get to tier 3, you can't actually build these tier 2 buildings, or at least you can build them, they just can't function once you've, well, let me backpedal a bit. You can't build them until you get one of these cogs off the either off the blacksmith or off the trader. And the trouble is, they actually wear out. You've got to keep on top of that. You've got to keep replacing them, and the system doesn't warn you when that happens, which is a bit weird. So it is a very, very hands-on game. It's very, very micromanaged, I find. It's not one of these where you can just set things in motion and that's it. I mean, I'm going to have to come back and rethink all of these fields. Once I've done that, I'm going to have to rethink it again if they get diseases. So it's a very, very micromanaged game, but all the same, it is a lot of fun. Anyway, we've at least now managed to get to tier 2. So now that we've got that, there's a lot of places and a lot of things we can build. And that's all for another episode.